So I just want to first of all say a massive congratulations. So Corrine reversed a grade 2.5 uterine prolapse or uterine prolapse at age still 58, Corrine? Yeah. And Katie, you're 30 now, right? There was when you were 29 when we started.
30,
yeah, I thought so. I was working out your birthday then earlier. And Katie had a grade 2 rectocele, a grade 2 urethra, and a grade 1 uterine. So really similar to me, except I just had the 3 rectocele. So for anybody who has been given that fear or that belief that the rectocele is the one you can't heal, Katie and I are living proof, because we've both had quite significant ones, that you can. Okay, so I'm just gonna open up the floor for these guys. So who would like to kick off with a question? Did you want to go, Danielle, to start with?
Could somebody go? I'm just a bit busy at the minute. Could somebody?
Yeah, no worries. Would anyone else like to start with a question? Otherwise, if not, I can start. Anybody else like to ask these guys a question? No? I'll kick off in that case. Question for both of you. What would you say was the most surprising thing with where you're sitting now, having healed everything, that you learned in the Unshakable You blueprint? What was the most surprising thing? Totally.
Do you want to start, Corrine, or do you want me to go?
It doesn't matter. If you've got it right off, go ahead. I'm good either way.
I think the most surprising thing for me was, so obviously I put all of my time and attention into this so I could obviously reverse it, and then I did. Mm-hmm. I think it was like I was excited when I did it, but it was like I had this need to like get back to working out, do all these things, and then it was kind of like it happened, and I was like, okay, I can just go back to normal life. And it wasn't as big as I thought maybe it was going to be. Like I was like, oh, I'll be working out every day, and then it's like, no, I went back to being a mom, working a full-time job. Like it's just life went back to normal. So I think it was interesting in that like aspect for me.
Can I ask you another question before I go to Corrine? Yeah. Why would you, because I'm sensing part of that is because you didn't just change your physical body, you also changed your beliefs, your views. Do you think that had something to do with it?
I think, yes, a lot of the emotional, because it was like I was in a place of fear for so long that like I had to do this. Like it was the end of the world if I didn't. And along the way, it was a great, actually, second question. Along the way, it was like I learned that like these aren't like the biggest things that bring joy in life. It's just something I like to do. So when I have the time for it, then yes, I work it in. But it's not like this dire need that I have to go to the gym every day. Like I like to do those things, but realistically, I'm responsible for a 1-year-old who takes a lot of my time. I have a husband I still need to attend to. I have a house we need to take care of. I work 40 to 50 hours a week. And then it's like where I thought like it was such a big deal that I had to get all of these things done. It was just like I learned that like where the real joy comes from is like what I'm happy doing in the moment. So yes, on the weekend I can get a run in. I could squeak in a workout 2 to 3 times during the week, but it's not to like, I was like, oh, if I get this back, I'm going to be running every day and working out every day. And it's just, I changed along the way because I realized like where the real joy comes from. And it's like actually getting to spend time with Caden, and it's not stressing out about picking him up. Or it was where the real joy came from of reversing the prolapse was in a very different way, where like I said, like it's about like picking him up, being able to run around with him. I do like helicopter, and I don't have a fear of doing any of those things. So I guess maybe the biggest surprise was it changed where I thought I was going to be afraid, or like how I viewed everything.
Thank you. Amazing question. Yes. Some big clues in there, which Corine's going to add to, I'm sure, in a minute, but some big clues in there in terms of how we work for those of you that are brand new. Corrine, same question for you, my friend.
Okay, well, the first thing that came to mind, I just got to say it, okay? The first thing that came to mind that really blew my mind about this entire program, I mean, it's a phenomenal process. You put the work in. I was very dedicated. Was going to the bathroom 3 to 4 times a day. Was like, what is going on? That was my biggest. I mean, when you told me that, I'm like, nah, there's no way. No, I don't believe it. But then it happened. It was like, well, this stuff really works. And if you've and to realize how much the pelvic floor holds on to emotions, you don't think that. And then I listened to the call last night on the way home, and when you have anxiety, that's just, how did you word that, Jenny? You're not letting your emotions out, right? Mm-hmm. So when I lost my husband to a tragic accident, I had a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. And that I wouldn't recognize the feeling. So it went to my pelvic floor. I know it did. So it attributed to my prolapse getting worse. So just incorporating that, the physical and the mental, and phenomenal. I mean, I didn't think you were living proof you healed. Katie was living proof you healed. I knew it could be done because I knew there had to be another way. But just to tie it all in is unbelievable how the law of attraction works. So just so much appreciation to you and Duncan for creating this program. Thank you.
And to piggyback off Corrine, I will say, yes, I think I think everyone who's in this program has not maybe had the easiest life. There's been a lot of challenges, and I don't think any of us realize how much emotion we do suppress from everything, because I don't think we are ever properly taught in life how to really analyze these emotions and how to express them in different ways. So a lot of times we hold on to all of this on the inside, and obviously it manifests somewhere in your body. So I think, like, kind of going off what Corrine said, is I think it was also very surprising to me as well to know that your emotions played such a big role in this. And when you started to work through, like, I went to therapy for everything that's ever happened to me, and I felt better about it, but I didn't really process it. And I didn't know how to process it until I did this program. And I think it was one of my first calls with you, Jenny, where you said, I'm going to put this out there. And it was more about kind of the childhood trauma. And you said, like, you as soulmates kind of came to an agreement that you were going to have to go through this for some reason. And it wasn't until you said that it was that moment that it clicked for me to say, I'm no longer the victim. I had some ownership in this too. And from that day on, like, I haven't been angry about it. I just accepted it, and it's just a part of me, and I'm okay with it. So I think, and I'm sure Corrine had experiences like that too, where we don't actually realize how we feel about the emotion. We just kind of suppress it, and we just hold it down there, and we're like, I'm pissed off this happened to me. Like, why did this happen to me? But when you put it in a different light and you can kind of analyze it in that way, you're like, okay, I can get on board with this. Like, and I felt better about it because I actually processed it in a different way than I never had before.
Wow. Well, thank you. For any of the newbies here, I mean, Katie and Corinne answered that beautifully. For those of you that are completely new to us, I know there's a couple. Our programs are a wild ride. You will really, really get to understand what's truly going on in this universe. And it's a bit of a shock at first. But once you truly understand this and you truly know what's going on, you can change anything in your body. So I know there's a couple of new people. So I just want to say, your prolapse and your pelvic floor, it's not a physical issue. It's a spiritual, mental, emotional pattern that is just pointing at that error in your body. So if you can change that, the body will do what it needs to do. So that's, what Katie and Corinne are talking about here. And that's one of the biggest aspects of our program. Plus we have some kick-ass physical stuff as well. But just to put a context around what's that, why these guys are answering in this way. So thank you so much. Danielle, you look like you were chomping at the bit. Have you got a question for us? And I'm so happy you came in your ears. Just wouldn't be the same without you in your ears. Oh, you're on mute, my love. Just need to unmute yourself. Let me unmute you.
I was trying to hide them and be discreet, but you might as well just see them.
Let's get them on.
Okay, my list is on my phone. So
I'll just mute myself and you are.
Okay, can you hear me? Oh,
Yep.
well, you can. I'll assume you can. So how do you both know you've definitely healed your prolapse? It's one of my questions.
Katie, do you want to go first or whatever? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
I went to a physical therapist. Not that I needed to. My inner being told me that it was healed. I just wanted the confirmation so I could tell Jenny and Duncan, I healed. The physical therapist is, her expertise is pelvic floor. So she did an internal check and it was not there. And I had been going all along because, as Katie knows and anybody else, you have insurance, you meet your deductible, it's all paid for. So as long as these were all paid for, not that I needed them, not that I'm taking into account, I appreciate what they do. And for some women, they may help. This was the ultimate help because I was going to pelvic therapy before and doing Kegels and like some bridge work and clamshells, that type of exercise, not making any progress. This is where I made the progress. She's blown away by what I did. She asked what I did, gave her the roundabout, hyperpressives, emotional work. That was that. And when she did the internal check, she found nothing. And she'd been checking all along. So she had her notes to go by. So confirmation from a specialist. And in December, I go for my yearly physical, and they're going to look up there with the flashlight, the dream that Jenny had in the very beginning, and go, oh, it's all gone. What are you here for? I'm here for my physical. But you know what? I'm going to go, I told you so. I don't need surgery. So confirmation, Danielle, you will heal. So don't doubt the process. And don't compare. That's the biggest thing, people. You can't compare yourself to where our journey's at. You're all on your own journey, but you will heal in time if you follow the program.
I just want to thank you, Corrine. Excellent answer. And I just want to say what's really important, the point Corrine made there is she had the same person checking all along. So somebody saw how it was in the beginning, measured, tested in all different, positions, and then seeing you all the way along. Because obviously you can get some people, if you see different people with slightly differing opinions. But at the end of the day, if it's not there, it's not there. Thank you, Corrine. Katie, over to you.
Yep. So for me, the way I got my confirmation to know, so Jenny would always say, like you know, like you know. And there came a time that I was just like, I know. And I told Duncan, I'm like, I'm ready to just go do some sprints. And he's like, okay, go see how it feels. And I did them. I said, how did it feel? And I said, I didn't feel anything. I haven't felt anything in weeks. I think I'm good. And he said, probably are good. I had my annual appointment coming up. So just so you understand like who I saw first, back in February, I had saw a urogynecologist, and she diagnosed me with my 3 prolapses and told me what stages they were at. I then had my annual in, I think it was April. She did an annual exam, and she just said, like, because I said, hey, like, I know I was diagnosed with some prolapses, like, how's everything looking? And she goes, I honestly think you reversed it because I don't see anything down here. And I said, okay. So I told Jenny, I said, I think it's time for me to make my appointment. And she said, okay. So I called, scheduled. I had one at the end of, I think it was the end of May, so a couple weeks later. And when she went and checked, and she said, you're right, everything looks great. Like, you have nothing to worry about. So I said, okay. And that was how I knew. So I knew internally in my own self that I had done it. And then I had confirmation from the same person that told me I had it, who was very shocked and was kind of like, how did you do this? So.
And to piggyback off that, Danielle, and anyone else that listens to this, you're not going to have, as Jenny says, those, I might need some help explaining this, Jenny. You won't feel that heaviness, the tampon feeling, because you're so in tune with your body right now, it's going to be gone. I don't know how else to explain, Jenny, if you want to go off back.
I can actually add something in. So I just put in my big one for the week that I did a lifting workout, upper body with Duncan. So something that was so crazy that I had never experienced before, because what Corinne's saying is that you're so in tune with your body. when I was doing certain exercises with Duncan and just doing like the inhale and like expanding the rib cage in certain positions, I actually felt my entire pelvic floor lift up. And it was the coolest thing I've ever experienced. And I was like, wow, like you will connect so much with your body throughout this process that like you will know, like I said to Corrine, I actually talked to her last week and we finally introduced ourselves, that I knew that my cycle was going to be coming just because my something had changed. And literally later that day, Corrine, I didn't even tell you, I actually ended up starting my cycle 2 days early. So it was just funny. Like you will know everything because you're so connected with that area after you go through this process of like how it's going to go.
Yeah, thank you both of you, and I love that you said, Kate, I'll never forget after, because I didn't lift for the entire time I healed like you guys, and I'll never forget getting under the bar because Duncan and I were testing various things and putting on a fair bit of weight because I knew and I was confident, also had the confirmation, and I have lifted for years on and tested out. And I remember dropping into the squat, and for me, years even before I knew I had prolapse issues, even as a teenager, I would drop into the squat, and at the bottom, for those of you who squat, I would always feel wobbly at the bottom of a heavy squat. And I remember just dropping in, and I didn't do a hyperpressive movement. I remember my ribs just expanding, my whole pelvic floor lifting up, and I was like, wow. I mean, and I could literally bench press double what I had ever bench pressed before, because now those core muscles are working, the pelvic floor, and the body knows what to do. When you've ingrained it into the body, it just, the magic just happens. It really is a thing. I don't go on about it too much in the program because everyone's healing and like, don't tell us about lifting. But it's, as Katie said, it's a beautiful, it's better than before, right?
Yep. It's just this really cool connection that I would have never have known was even coming. And then I was in certain positions and I'm like, I'm not even doing anything. And it's just like, I feel the entire thing lifting. Like it just knew what to do. It was so cool.
Yeah. Love that you brought that up. Thank you guys. I think I'm sure, have you got, does anybody, I'll just double check before Danielle goes to next question.
Could I just ask about that? Did you, so when you'd healed and you were starting doing normal life stuff again, did you have to break any beliefs? Was any beliefs about down there holding you back? It doesn't sound like it, but I just wanted to check because a lot of the stuff I've come along with this program is breaking down beliefs.
So I think you do such a good job during the process and program that you break those beliefs down early. So I'll say like right before I was doing my first lifting, like I had a call with Jenny because I did like a lower body one before I did the upper body one. And I had done a call with her and we kind of just talked through some things, just like, you know, like what if it came back, or like, and I guess it was more of the what if I brought it back. But after we kind of just did a quick call on that and we talked everything back down, like I didn't have any issues when I did the workout. I didn't have any issues after. And I didn't even have a hesitation during this past week. Like it wasn't even a question in my mind.
One thing I do add to that is remember when, as Jenny would always say, as you're working up the emotional scale and say you're worried about the one thing going on the airplane. I just remember that from Thursday's call. Say you're worried about going on the airplane, and that is worry. So anything you're worried about is related to worry. So it could be, what am I going to have for supper? Or what's it going to feel like if I run or if I walk up the hill? Oh, Jenny, I need your help. The worry, if you break the belief to the worry, you're going to break the belief to all those subjects. You know what I'm trying to say, Jenny?
Yeah.
So, you know, yes, I was worried about lifting before I had the confirmation. I'm holding off till I get to correct everything from Duncan and Jenny, but I am starting to dip into things small on my own, but I'm not worried because I broke that belief on so many other topics that, like Katie said, if you follow the process, you're going to break those beliefs down along the way. You're not going to think about it.
Danielle, Corinne's has explained it beautifully, but to be able to heal, you can't have a worry set point anyway, as you know. So you've got to be in the contentment 50. So you won't even have that pattern by then. You might have the odd little thought that pops into your mind, but because it won't be your dominant set point, because you have to have come out of that to heal anyway, it just won't be an issue then.
And there is a phrase that that Jenny always told me to use, and it was just like to remind yourself that your body like knows what it's doing. So it's just like to trust your body, to know your body. And like if I ever like had that like quick low down, like my body knows what to do. My body's strong, like my body's got it. And it's just like you kind of talk yourself right back up. And then you over time you don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah. That. Thank you, Katie. And that's why it makes such a great point. Thanks, Katie, for Danielle and anyone else listening. That's why we don't recommend you do any lifting or any of these kinds of things until you've healed, because and you made a great point, Danielle, a great question, because you'll second guess yourself and you'll worry, and then you might worry yourself into something. Whereas if by the time you've healed, you've already dealt with that vibration. So you'd never have a relapse. Like I've never had a relapse. It's coming up 6 years for me soon. You know, and you via the processes you're already noticing, because you've already let go of a lot of emotion, right, Danielle? So by then it just won't be an issue.
And I'm assuming you don't get any symptoms either. The tampon feeling's gone, the heaviness is gone, everything.
All of it.
Never again.
No.
Yeah, I lost a lot of my feeling or like those symptoms like a few weeks in, like maybe after a month of the program. And I hadn't felt anything since then. From there it just got stronger and stronger over time. So
thank you.
I'm literally just wrong person. Okay, there we go. We're good. Welcome, Emma. Great. Does anybody else have a question? Because I know Danielle's got several. She's got some really cool questions, but would anybody else like to jump in with a question? And then we can come back to Danielle's list. I knew Danielle would. I thought I don't need to worry about anything. Danielle's going to come with a list. It's going to be awesome. And everyone else will be asking the same questions anyway. But if you have a question, just jump in now, unmute yourself. If not, just enjoy listening. And Danielle will go for the next one, making my life very easy, Danielle, today. I can always count on you.
One thing I want to add that will piggyback to the feeling of the tampon feeling and the heaviness, that does go away. But there might be others out there like me. I fought this along the way. My low back kept giving me fits. Like I felt like my pelvis was out or the sacrum was out. I'd go to the chiropractor. And in the end, at the end of the day, as Jenny would say, I love that phrase. And the chiropractor at the time was my path of least resistance. You have to trust your body. Your body does know what to do. Even in the moment, Jenny said, oh, the cells know what to do and your body knows what to do. And I'm like, how can all this be? That's a lot to take in. But guys, it does. You trust the process. You do it all. You're diligent. It does, because I haven't been to the chiropractor for 2 weeks or more, probably a month. Well, I'd have to think back, but it's been quite a while, because I use the phrase, wouldn't it be nice if my back would not hurt? And if I get a pain, like Jenny explained with her rib or her shoulder that day, oh, you're there. Okay, I recognize you. I'm holding resistance in my body. What is this? Okay, I need to deactivate. I need to focus wheel. Even though I've healed, I still do processes. There's not time, not every day, 2-3 times a week, not even that, but I deactivate. Oh, I'm worried about this. Okay, out the door you go. If I'm near a piece of paper, I'll write it down. But my back was giving me fits until I honestly worked on, and I did a lot of emotional scales and focus wheels on my low back. And I only go now, like Jenny said, because it feels good. Or I found one, and Jenny told me this way back, but I didn't listen to my inner being. You need a chiropractor with a lighter touch. And once I hit that one, it was like magic. I was fine.
Thank you, Corrine. Awesome. I just want to say, Emma just joined us. Emma, we've got, just so you know, we've got some people, a couple of people who are in our program wanting to ask Katie and Corinne questions. Katie and Corinne, obviously, I'm sure you know, have reversed their prolapses, and we've got some new people as well. Some people who have only just heard about us. So some of the processes that Corinne's talking about, the processes in our program. So we have a reverse your prolapse program. So the format is Danielle, a lovely Danielle has a bunch of questions, but anybody that wants to ask questions in between, just pop yourself off mute, or I can take you off mute and jump in. But go with your next question, Danielle.
So how about things like a cough? How has that affected things at all? That's something that I would worry about. And again, you may have potentially answered it by saying you don't worry about things, but that's something that in my mind I would think, oh, could it cause problems?
What do you mean cough, Danielle?
Like if I've got a cough or cold in the sunny UK, I'm always getting stuff.
Your no, go ahead, Katie.
Oh no, go ahead. You were started.
Oh, I was going to say your body's going to know what to do. You're like when you go to lift, your body's going to know what to do. And I think, not to overstep Jenny, but I would say worry. You're in that worry mode. What am I going to do? Don't worry about it. Your body's going to handle it. I don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry.
I was actually gonna say exactly what Corrine's saying. Like, I have a baby at home. He gets sick. He brings home stuff all the time. I have a stuffy nose right now as we speak. Like, it's just what happens. While I think we only had one cold while I was going through that, and I definitely had a cough throughout the winter. I don't remember really ever worrying about it, and I don't know if it was just because I was further along in the program where I knew it wasn't going to make any impact, but I would just say that if you're worrying about it, you probably have some like resistance or some like emotional work you just need to like kind of do through or process on it. So I don't think coughing, or if you were to get like a stomach bug and you were, got sick, I don't think it's like, me personally, I would never think that it was going to affect my pelvic floor. Like, yes, it could cause pressure down there, but it's not going to make anything worse. It's just part of, your body's going to know what to do, kind of what Corrine was saying. And I think if you just don't focus your attention on that and just focus your attention on healing your body and getting better, like your sickness will go a lot shorter and you'll be good to go.
Love that. Answering for wonderful, guys, gold star. But yeah, Danielle, so just for everybody who's new, to explain, a prolapse or a pelvic floor issue comes from an emotional vibration that you're doing a lot of the time, not all the time, of vulnerability and insecurity. Danielle's doing really well in our program, so she's moving up to more of a worry set point now, and things manifest in the physical body, so they create in the physical body from worry down. So along the way, I had setbacks. So within the 9 months it took me to heal, like Corrine had issues with her back, I had the tampon feeling back, I think once, and I had, I just sometimes sense tension there. But once it was healed, and it's obviously been healed almost 6 years now, I've never had anything there again, and of course, we're human beings, so I've been down that emotional scale. But because you know what to do, and because you no longer feel vulnerable, and because worry's no longer your set point, and you have tools, exactly as Katie and Corinne said, you won't hang there very long, and you won't really manifest in the physical anymore. So physical issues are chronic, are pointing to chronic emotional set points. So if you don't let them go on for so long, and you don't let them really get out of control, because you understand, no judgment to you guys with them now, obviously, because no one's told you how to do this. Once you know how to do that, you'll never let it get that far, Danielle. You know what to do. You'll catch it early. You'll think, I got a cough. Okay, this means I got a bit of this going on. Let me tune this up with the process, that whatever process. It'll never go so far to a prolapse ever again. Ever, I can promise you, hand on heart, my friend Danielle, when you've reversed this, I can promise you 100%, I'll go all out. You'll never manifest that again, because a prolapse is extreme. That's decades and decades of some serious insecurity, vulnerability, and worry. And you can probably see from the program already, Dan, you're not going to go back there ever again. You can't, you know too much now. But right now, it's normal. Remember, I always do this, that your progress is a bit like this. That's normal. But once you hit that point, you're never going to create something like this ever again. Back in the day when I worked with clients with cancer, and bear in mind, this is like 20 years ago with some of the first clients I ever worked with, and I'm in touch with lots of them still, none of them ever got cancer again. They might get an odd cold, but they don't worry that an odd cold is going to send their cells rogue and they're going to get cancer or leukemia or something like that again. So once you understand this stuff, because we don't just teach processes, we also teach how the entire universe works. I was just saying, Emma, to the others, that it's a wild ride with us, but it's really worth it. You have to be a certain type of person to sign up to the wild ride. But when you get it, you can't undo it. right, guys? I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Yeah, you won't.
We all three of us can say, we might seem like they're crazy, you know, specialists are not agreeing to it, but all three of us are living proof, and we can say hands on heart, once you've healed it, it's a done deal, because you're not going to go back to living that way again. Because once you know this stuff, you can't go back. It's an impossibility. It's as real as gravity. Yes. Good. I'll get off my speech there. Getting all passionate there. Does anyone else have a question? Just want to, oh, do you want to add, Corrine, that you follow 6 emotional skills? Yes, Corinne's just mentioning that we have a lot of tools, a lot of emotions within the actual program that obviously help you to do this. Esther Hicks has given our program big stamp of approval, and so has Joe Dispenza actually. So we're allowed to use lots of their techniques, and I've niched it all to our work. So thank you for that, Corrine. Anybody else want to unmute themselves to ask anything? Otherwise, I'll give you a minute. Otherwise, I presume you have more questions otherwise. So, yeah, she's looking at that serious. She's got plenty. Great.
Should we be worried, Danielle?
No, I just ask a million questions about everything in life, especially these kind of things.
I love it. You don't know till you know.
I'll ask this then, I think, because so aside from the prolapse, so you can include that as well. Actually, how has this course changed your life?
Easy. So this is kind of what I was saying. I think back to the first question I answered is I told you that there's a lot of emotions that you don't realize that you suppress for a long time, and once you kind of work through those, you'll start to see life in like a different way where you find more joy. So like I know Jenny taught me like this matching game where it's like I'll drive to work, it's like I'm in a good mood, like oh the sun is shining, like you start to match things that are going around in your surroundings, or it's like I walk in, it's like oh everyone said good morning to me, like they're happy to see me. When you're kind of at a higher vibration on a consistent level, the small things in the day-to-day don't bother you anymore, so you go through life more in like a joyous mood. I know like when I even go for a walk, it's just like I just feel so much more connected and so much more grounded and a lot more relaxed like the day-to-day, where I think a lot of people who have a prolapse were more of a type A personality. And I'll say like yes, I'm still type A, but it helped me like kind of pull myself down a little bit, where it's if the dishes aren't clean, like I can go to bed and the dishes aren't clean and I'll do it in the morning. Where I think it was just like I had to get everything done. I always had to figure out a way. And it's like I would work myself to the to no ends, where it was just like, why? Like I didn't have to do that. So I would say on like from this emotional scale, like when you get to the higher end of it, you kind of like prioritize what's actually important and what's going to make you happy in the moment. And if it's not doing the dishes, then do the dishes tomorrow. Like it's small things like that that go a really long way.
Katie, could you, I was just thinking, rather than end on the negative side with the answer to the question, could you just tell me how it's changed life for the better, but how that compares to what your life was like before? Because I went through some really dark, hard times for a long time. So I just wanted to know the comparison would be good as well as.
I'll be very vulnerable and tell you who I was before I started this program. So I was somebody who was a very hard worker. I'm very divulged into my career. And I think would distract myself from a lot. So you have all this negative emotion, right? So instead of dealing with it, what's the best way to not deal with it? Distract yourself. So I would work long hours. When I had my free time, I'd be like, oh, I'm in a bad mood, I'm just going to go run it off. Like I always distracted myself, where that's no longer what I want to do. If I'm actually feeling an emotion, I allow myself to feel it, and I'll meditate or I'll journal about it, or I'll like process, like kind of like I'll work through the emotions now where I never did before. So it leaves me in a better mood a lot of the time, where it's just like I feel free and I feel loved and I feel connected to myself. Does that answer your question or help kind of?
So I guess cry in a corner as soon as my dreams calling's coming true here.
I guess before I started the program, I thought I was happy, but I was not happy at all. And I am now a very happy, connected soul of a person.
Thank you. It's good to know.
Yes. Yes.
I would absolutely ditto everything Katie said, because when we spoke last week, we both pretty much knew we were, she's here, I'm here in age, however you want to put that gap, but we're on the same path. Just like Jenny, we're kind of on the same path. We're all type A. You'll learn the work, you learn how to deal with it. The one thing I can add is, yes, I was very type A, like Katie said. I think everybody in the program's a type A to a point. You can be up here, you can be here. When I lost my husband, apparently you come with a lot of grief with that, right? I went back to work the next day. I chose to continue forward. I didn't do anything. And 9 months later, my body, it's amazing what your body holds. My body held, I suppressed all the grief. My body held on to that. And one day I was in a pile at the bottom of the steps. Like, I couldn't move. I couldn't go forward. So I had to get up and, okay, yeah, you move forward. Well, while I was on this program and I had already reversed, I knew it, just didn't have the confirmation, I lost my dad. So I had a lot of contrast, even during the program, working through the processes. And if it weren't for the processes that were provided in the program and all the emotional support, physical support provided by the program and the members of the program, I don't even want to know where I'd be with the loss of my dad. But I moved it through it so smoothly. And anybody who's lost somebody, the after effects of like the estate, working with family, can be horrendous. But I'm like, I chose to let it go. Yeah, I got a hold of Jenny a few times, bless her heart for taking my messages. But I had some big wins. I worked through it. I walked down the hall talking to myself in the house like, no, don't spiral down, come back up, because are they worth it? Like Jenny says, you will love them. You may not in your physical body love them, family members, where they are, but your inner being does love them no matter what. Unconditional love. And I accept them for who they are, where they are, and life moves on. Because at the end of the day, everything we need is provided out there for us. We just have to find a way to connect with it. And your inner being does, you have to learn to trust. That's a big thing. You have to trust what your inner being's telling you. So I don't know if you've read some of the things in the group, and for the new people that aren't part of the group yet, and if you're even on shouldn't I, take the time, don't doubt yourself, because I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. Just phenomenal. You will change it's never too late, but if you coulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda, long time ago, 20 years ago, you guys are gonna love the program. It's life-changing. Even like Katie said, the small things. Your cup of coffee, Danielle, does that taste better now that you're in the program than it did before? Or do you recognize the small little wins that you're having?
Yeah,
Just
for sure.
things. Yeah. Don't look
But it makes me realize what a struggle life was before. And obviously I'm still working on so many things, but I just,
well, so are we.
Why I wanted to know the difference. Yeah, like I had some really dark times a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We all did. Did. There's still times I have to pull a process out, even if I have to do it in my head on driving to work or walking down the hall at work. There's some contrast at work right now. And right now it's like, you're not bringing me down. You're just not. So yeah, it's the little stuff too.
I think Corrine said it really well, it's the phrase, let it go. You make a decision in the moment now, because you'll start to notice. So like they say, when your inner being speaking to you, when that negative emotion comes, it's telling you it's something that's not good. Like you're feeling that way for a reason. And you have to ask yourself, do I want to waste my time and my energy on this right now? Or do I want to put it towards something positive? So you decide to let it go and you drop that resistance. So throughout time, you'll start to decide, like you'll kind of navigate your own journey as what's worth your time and what's not worth your energy. Like you'll start to know in the moments. Like if somebody's kind of like really acting out, you'll know it's like, okay, I had nothing to do with that. That person's having a bad day. I'm gonna give them their space. But like it's not worth my time and my energy right now because I don't want to be in that vibration. I want to remain in my vibration. So you kind of like just steer away from things. So you'll be a lot more in tune.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got more questions, but I might just give a pause a moment and see if anyone else.
For anybody, amazing. I'm speechless. All three of you right now running the show beautifully.
Love your questions, Danielle.
Yeah, these are great.
Oh, they're fantastic. For anybody who doesn't know what an inner being is, just to clarify, in the program we teach you. Sorry if it's shocking. Some of you might know, some of you might not, but it's just the part of you that's not in the skin suit. So we have broader knowing. We can call it consciousness, your soul, that there's a part of you that's not in here. And in the program, we show you how to tap into that. So that's becomes then pretty easy to heal your body, but it changes your entire life. So I always joke and I say to Duncan, my husband Duncan, all the time, you know, if we'd called this, come and meet your consciousness, come and learn how the universe works, come and be happy, no one would have shown up. But luckily, not to be flippant, I got a prolapse and now everyone's showing up. And we're getting to do what we always wanted to do. So it's working out beautifully. That nobody is really here, anybody to heal a prolapse. That gets you in the door. That ends up being the opportunity for all this growth and to learn this stuff, because you can't do what you want to do. So it motivates you here, but it's not really what's going on. So just a little bit to help there. And would anybody like to unmute and ask a question? If not, you can just hang there and listen. But I'll just see if anyone unmutes. If not, we're continuing, Danielle.
Have any of your, so I think quite a few of us on the program I've noticed have challenging relationships around themselves, whether it's with your parents or siblings or etc. So what relationships have changed during your time on the course?
I can attest to this one. And Katie, if you want to go first, go ahead.
Go ahead. It's all you.
When I began the program, we all have challenging relationships. Who doesn't, right? My family's the most, you may think my family is the most messed up family there is, but you know what? There's others out there too. There's other words I want to use, but we're recording, so I'm not going to. I'm being very good. You see, I have my WTF doll. That's for Duncan. Anyway. Okay, so I have 3 daughters. I have 3 daughters that don't speak to me. For whatever reason, I still love them. I still send them love every day and I write. I just do my thing. When I got divorced, they chose to take their dad's side because of money. I have 2 brothers. I'm the oldest that did the same thing. And with this program, you learn what's important and what's not important. And I have done all the things to try to make it better. I've done all the reconnecting, and they go back and it rehappens. And it's just like you work through the processes, because family does not have to be blood. So I have a fiance who I love dearly and 2 boys and their girlfriends, and they are my family. With the death of my dad, his last wish was that the 3 of us kids would reconnect. And we did. And I thought it was great. And I overlooked everything and I thought, oh, this is great. Wow, we're going to have family again. Well, things didn't change on their end, but they did my end. The connection's still there. It's still going to be a struggle, but I've done a lot of emotional scales and focus wheels on this. They'll come around in their time, and as Jenny talks, and we've dropped the words here, our inner being knows, that it will be okay. It is what it is. And this is Earth side, and this is how it's supposed to be. And I love them no matter what, where they are in the moment. The same with my girls. And I do have a reconnection with one of my daughters and my grandchild because of this program. I know it's because of this program. And that just makes me feel so good. She sent me pictures of my grandson that I have not met yet, but just having the pictures is amazing. So this program will change your life indefinitely. And will it mend all the relationships? I'm going to say on my aspect right now, no, it hasn't, but it not giving up hope, because I'm going to keep doing processes and sending them love and hope that within time it will. And if not, when I'm not Earth side or they're not Earth side, I know I can still connect with the spirit part and have a good relationship.
Thank you, Corrine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you, Corrine. Can I just throw one, sorry, Kate, just throw one little thing, and I was going to say, add something. Corinne's done an amazing job. The one thing you will learn in the program a lot is you can't change other people. You can't create into their consciousness. You can't make them do anything, but you will elicit the best side of more people. And some people, those relationships may not come back, but as Corinne's demonstrating, you will be at peace with that. So it's, whilst you maybe can't always change some of them, you can get your own peace and your own happiness regardless of that. So yeah, thanks, Corinne. I'll let you go, Katie. Sorry for interrupting you.
Actually, Jenny did a good, or her little speech kind of will align with what I'm about to say. So probably the hardest relationship I've had for the last couple of years is actually my oldest brother. So I'm one of 5 kids. And my oldest brother stopped speaking to the rest of our family. And it was really hard at first. And the biggest reason was, and I'm okay with saying this, was because he didn't really have a good relationship with a lot of us. And specifically when we were getting married, my husband, Corey, chose not to put him in the bridal party. And it was because I think they have maybe spoke 2 to 3 times in the entire time me and my husband were dating at the time. And my brother took that very personal and stopped talking to everyone because of it. And that was hard on me because it was like I was the final, I guess I was like, the straw that broke the camel's back. And that I carried a lot of guilt with that because I was like, I don't know how to make this better. Like, I apologized. I tried to speak with him. I went to his house. He slammed his door in my face, didn't want to talk to me. Like, it was a lot of hurt. And it was just from something so small, but it clearly impacted him in a different way. So I did my part and I apologized the best that I could. And I said, I understand how you feel. And I tried to get on that level with him. And during this process is the first time that I can say that I know that I did everything on my end to try and to heal and fix the relationship. And then it's not me who's going to fix it. It's going to have to be him. So like, I just have to trust, and I gave it to the universe to say, in the future, I would like to have a relationship with this person, but I know that they're not ready, and I need to give him the time and the space for him to get into whatever he needs in his own time. So I'm like, I was just up in New York. So I'm from New York. And I live down in Virginia now, but I was up there a couple of weeks ago back in September. And I reached out to him and said, hey, if you're still looking to talk, because we hadn't spoken a year, I said, if you're still looking to talk, I'm going to be coming up to New York if you'd like to meet up. He didn't answer me for 2 weeks and then sent me a text back and said, what dates are you here? I sent them to him, and I said, he said, that doesn't work with my schedule. I said, well, what is your schedule? Never answered. So he had no wanting to ever see me. So it was weird. Normally I would be so hurt by that, but I honestly just didn't care. Like, he just isn't ready, and I accept that, and I'm just, whenever he's ready, he'll talk to me. So I would say, so for that, that's probably the relationship that has hurt me the most, but it's throughout this process, I am now okay with it because I know I've done everything on my end to try to make it right, and that person will have to do that on their end as well to make it work.
That's phenomenal, Katie. I do want to say something that's helped me out too was, wouldn't it be nice if, that phrase Jenny tells us to use, wouldn't it be nice if in the future, you know, I could have a relationship. I did that a lot. I did a lot of emotional scales on my girls. And like Katie said, you have to love them more, and Jenny too. Not trying to exclude anyone, but you love them for who they are, where they are, and you can't change them because it won't work. It just won't work. You're fighting against, that's your contrast.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm at very much peace. You can add one more relationship in there for me. I have the most messed up family. Attributes to part of why I'm here is trauma in my childhood with my mother. I don't speak to her. I haven't spoken to her for 25 years. She's not my mother. She may have given birth to me, so she's my maternal thing. I had a stepmother who was phenomenal, my dad's second marriage, and she's my mom. She's on the other side now, and I speak to her all the time in meditation. And the other maternal thing, I have forgiven her. I don't forget, but I've forgiven her. I've moved on, and she is who she is, and she's the one that has to deal with that on her end. She doesn't think she's done anything wrong, but okay, that's fine. And I'll send you love, but that's it. I will never try to repair that relationship. And on the other side, when she does pass, there will be a relationship. I know there will be, because our inner beings do love each other. So like Katie said, that's perfect. You're at peace with how things are, but I still wish and hope for, wouldn't it be nice if I get to see all my grandchildren in the future on this side of the earth plane. So, or as Jenny says too, the wild, wild west of earth. It is pretty wild ride here, guys. So just this program makes the ride a little less intense.
This just comes to my mind now. Have either of you, has anybody noticed a change in you? Because outwardly we must have changed a lot.
Yes.
And what have they noticed?
It's kind of what I've been. Oh,
go ahead, Katie.
You
Sorry.
go, Corrine.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you as a person, this is what I was kind of talking about, because like as you work through like negative emotions and you start to have more positive thoughts, you're a lot more aware of when there's negative contrast in your body. So then you kind of reflect back in and you say like, why am I feeling this way? Is this like an internal thing? Is it something this person's doing? And you're just, I would say the way I've changed is I'm just so much more aware of what's going on. And like, I remind myself that I'm in control of my own thoughts and feelings. So when I start to notice contrast in my body, I'm way quicker to be like, oh, I gotta kind of squash this now and figure out what's going on. And I allow myself to feel that emotion and then I work right through it. So as you work other processes, it's weird because you won't be like doing an emotional scale, like reading, but you'll just kind of start to do it and be like, why did that just make me jealous? Like, why? Like, and then you start to talk yourself right back through and up it. And like, you do a process without even knowing you're doing the process. Because like, you'll question yourself and say, should I be feeling that way? I probably shouldn't be feeling that way. And then you just work right through it. So I do that a lot all the time. Like, I will just go right back up. I'll let Corrine go now.
Has anyone said, sorry, I was going to ask you, Katie, has anyone said to you, God, you're different? Or anything like that?
Something I will say is people have always seen me kind of as like, my nickname as a kid was Sunshine. Like I've always been a happier, upbeat person, but just because that was what I was displaying didn't necessarily mean that I always felt that way. So I would project a lot of the happiness maybe I wanted, but it didn't mean that I felt it. So I think when I had a tragedy happen to me or a traumatic experience happen to me as a kid, my like defense mechanism was to like make people like, I just try to deflect the good, but I was left feeling very empty. Like a lot of the times I felt like almost not like dead inside, but kind of like, I'm gonna be the best way to put it is like I felt really alone like my entire life. And as I've gone through this process, maybe people haven't seen me necessarily change, but I've seen my own self change where I'm not alone anymore. Like I'm okay. Like my husband's a firefighter, so like he's gone for 24 hours at a time. So a lot of the times like I would hate when he would be working because like I was like, "Oh my God, like I have to be alone like with myself. Like what am I?" Like it always bothered me, but now it's I don't feel that way anymore. Like I'm okay with being with me and I'm like, oh, I have time to read a book. Like I get to do other things and like I have found content and happiness within my own self.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I would say people noticed I changed. Like Katie, you know, you're portrayed the best. I did a lot of, if somebody got mad at me, self-blame. Like, what did I do wrong? I don't think I did anything wrong. I must have done something wrong. But it's not me. You recognize it's them. But the TikTok that I put in the group, so there was a challenge at work to do a TikTok, Pamela Punkin. And we had a company-wide meeting, and I had 3 or 4 people come up and go, Corrine, you did a TikTok. Is that normally you? And I'm like, nobody's ever asked me that before. And I said, I stopped and thought about it. And no, that wouldn't have normally been me. I was willing to do it. I did last week we had a float in the homecoming parade. I worked for a university. This week they want to dress up for Halloween. And I'm like, you guys got me to do those other 2 things. I'm not doing it. But who's the one that wants to dress up for Halloween? Me. So there's no more blame. There's no more, I'm happy. And I think people do notice it, and people, as Jenny's said too, people will rise to be, they don't have to do anything and you don't have to do anything. People around you will notice your vibration and they'll just naturally rise up to be with you. I've noticed a change in some of my coworkers. So yeah, they may not say anything, but you will notice, which I'm sure Katie's noticed. There's people that start to meet.
I will say, yeah, on the coworker. So I think something I've always had issues with is like trust and like, and I think it comes from that type A personality that like it has to be a perfect way and like it has to be done. And recently I've let go of a lot of those things where like I'll let people run with what things they need to do and they're stepping up to the plate and like they're exceeding the expectations that I even had. And it's giving them that freedom and that trust to say run with it, and like it's even better than I could have imagined, but it's because you're giving them that belief that you believe in them. And when you hand off the trust and like they're like, oh wow, this person trusts me, like I can't disappoint them, or you know, like I want to make it as good as I know she would make it, and like they're doing those things where it doesn't feel like I have to take it all on myself anymore. It's like I have that team.
Danielle, thank you for asking these questions. I'm sure everyone else is appreciating them because I'm gets, you know, normally doing the coaching, I'm getting to sit here and listen to this, and I'm like, wow, you two. I mean, it's unbelievable, you know, the things you have changed and some really challenging things when you've got that A-type personality to control the team members, you know, whereas give them the freedom, hand it over to the universe, really, you know, and rather than force the action, which you know, you guys have learned, allow inspired action to happen. I mean, wow, these are some huge, huge, huge changes. So thanks to all 3 of you. I'm sure everybody is appreciating some amazing things right here. Anybody, just to make sure, does anyone else have a question? Otherwise, I'm going to go to Danielle's next question. Anybody want to off mute? If you don't, it is absolutely fine. I hope you're enjoying it. If you're enjoying the information, by the way, just let me know in the chat. Good. Oh, Alison.
I have one. Yeah, it's just really loud in my house right now.
Oh yeah, go for it. It's okay.
Yeah. So did you guys ever feel like you like just didn't have the ability to do this, or like you couldn't figure out the processes, or like you weren't doing it right?
No, I think this comes back to like having like trust in your own self. So in the beginning, I think my biggest like the hardest thing I had a issue with trusting was, okay, this is like a completely different process. The entire world is telling you you can't do something. Like, why are these two people telling me that I can? And it's like, okay, she's living proof. Like, she has to be saying something. So, like, why not give it a shot? So, I will say in the beginning, and Jenny knows this, I was a little skeptical and I was honest about that. And I had to break down that disbelief that, like, you know, how do great athletes become the greatest athlete? Like, right, there's people along the way that tell them that they can't do it or they won't be the greatest, but it's that belief in your own self that, you know what, if somebody else can do it, why can't I do it? So what I did was I didn't really struggle with the processes. I just, when the homework was given to me, I dedicated 10% of myself to this when I had the time to. And what I did was I would get the homework, I would understand the process, I would master the process and say, okay, what's next? I didn't look at it as a whole. I took it as part by part, so I didn't overwhelm myself, and I mastered each part as I needed to go.
Plus, I want to add, if you have a question, they are there every step of the way. And you're part of a Facebook group community that obviously this is worldwide, right? So right now, Jenny's time is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm 8 o'clock in the morning. So they have different times. And if they're sleeping in bed and in the States, we're up and say Danielle puts a post on Facebook or whoever, one of us in the group can give our 2 cents. And if it's not right, which 99.9% of the time we're pretty spot on, Jenny will go in and add her tweaks, you know, or bits, but somebody's always there to help you. You always can ask a question. And you can always, you know, private message somebody if you know they're there or been in the process. I think that's okay because that's happened to me before. People have reached out. You have to trust the process, and the program is broken down step by step. You just have to believe, and you have to, you know, you may not think, oh, I don't have the time. Make the time. Get up 10 minutes earlier, 20 minutes earlier. Take that. I never took a noon lunch before. I worked straight through, but you need that break. And I did my hypopresses at work. I did them in the morning. I did them, you know, I just make it part of my daily routine. And right now I was doing things differently. It's hard for me to break that routine because I'm such a consistent person that I still want to do things twice a day, but I know I don't need to. I just don't do it as long. Does that answer your question, Allison?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think sometimes I just like, I'm like, am I getting this right? Or I feel like I'm like getting some things and then I'm like, I don't know, I second guess myself, and because everything's so new, you know, it's a whole new world of like terminology. It's a whole new world of everything.
It is, but you just trust the process. Maybe do I'm not sure where you are in the program, but maybe do a focus wheel on the hard part of it, or why am I feeling this is hard, or why am I feeling I can't trust this? Because you'll get it. I promise you'll get it. Jenny always says, trust me, you'll get it. You will.
Thank you. Good. Alison, I was just going to say, think of those thoughts as just a symptom of the vibrational pattern you've had. So rather than thinking of them as truth, I've never really met anybody. I think Katie being the athletes I've worked with, I think they sometimes have more trust because they've gone from a place of not having something, you know, or achieved something, and they followed a process and it's worked. But certainly so many of the one-on-one clients I've worked with and people in the program have this. So think of it as a symptom of where you are. That when I do, so obviously we have I'll tell you at the end, but we have an application process. So you have to go through an interview to join the program, just to check, you know, you're a good fit, the material's right for you. And I've done many, okay? And the thing I hear the most is people, it's not often that they don't believe it will work because they see the others, it makes sense to them, but they nearly always have, underneath everything really a fear that other people might be able to do it, but they won't. And that's a really natural thought from that insecurity, vulnerability vibration. So it's my promise to you that will just go over time, but that's definitely worth putting on an emotional scale. Because if you think about it, Alison, that thought feels terrible. So it means that the larger part of you doesn't agree with that thought. So for everyone listening, negative thoughts means that the larger part of you, your consciousness, has a different perspective. So it's not even true anyway. So acknowledge it. It's understandable. Don't make yourself wrong for it, but it's just part of the process. Katie won't mind me saying, but Katie's, do you remember what your biggest fear was right at the beginning? You probably don't even want to be reminded, but I do.
You can say it.
It was letting Duncan and I down.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't think about that anymore. You've clearly moved on. I have this, like, there's some things in life I cannot remember at all. I mean, some things, seriously, I just can't. But when it comes to things that people said to me at the beginning of programs or the very first time I meet people, like, I'm just saying, Danielle, because you're with your camera on now, and Corrine, I can remember, like, photographically the conversation we had, and Corrine, I don't know what, it's almost like my consciousness does this so I can see that I can constantly see the improvement, and I go back there. But it's this weird thing I have, and I remember that moment really vividly, Katie, where you know, that was one of your greatest fear, letting us down. And I remember saying to you, I remember saying to you, it's not a word, I made it up, but saying, I'm unlet down the bowl. You can't let me down because I'm not in that vibration, you know.
Yeah.
But that's similar to what Alison's talking about here, which is just that self-doubt, you know.
Yeah.
So Alison, you are not alone, I promise you. Even I knew it could be done. That I knew 1000%, because I had been in this world for decades. So I knew it could be healed. But did I believe every single step of the way I could heal? No, of course I didn't. But I dealt with that. I didn't let that run wild. I didn't allow it to go to tons of insecurity. I kept processing it, mostly with the emotional scale. These are processes for those of you that don't know in our program, and deactive box. I just kept it at bay. And even when, you know, I was recruiting people for our program, and Duncan and I decided to make this a program, there's still part of me going, is this gonna work? Like, is this a thing? But I didn't let myself go there very often. I just kept tuning it up because I could feel a strong calling for it, you know, and a desire to help people. So I just, yeah, it's really normal, Alison. It's all good, my friend. Great question though. Danielle said her battery is about to run out, but I've got all of her questions here. Does anybody else want to jump in? Emma, Melinda, Rosalie, I put her on anonymous just because it was showing her telephone number. Give everyone her telephone number. Would you guys like to ask Mandy as well? Anybody, anything? Are you happy listening? I don't think has anybody come off mute? I don't think so. Did you want to go with your next question, Danielle?
Yeah.
Just to check, Katie, Corrine, are you okay for sort of, because I said a max of an hour and a half, are you guys okay for another 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not exhausted by all this this mental demands on the questions. Okay. With so a general overview of your healing journey. I'm not talking about just prolapse, I'm talking about on this course, or to the general trajectory. So what were some challenges you faced? What were some light bulb moments? Just a general overview of that, if that makes sense.
So I think Jenny kind of just jokingly said what my biggest fear is. So I'm somebody who is so fearful of failing and letting people down, which I honestly even forgot that was one of my biggest fears in the beginning of this program. Was they kept saying how much success that, you know, they were going to help bring. And I was like, oh my God, what if I am like the one person that they can't fix? And like, I had this crazy fear. But I remember there was a day, so I had already gone through so I started the program in January, and February was when I went to go see the urogynecologist. And that day it was definitely a little bit of a setback, not as bad as I would have expected it to be, because, you know, it's hard. It was just, Jenny gave me a good advice to say, this is just a reminder of where Like, it's kind of just a set point of where you are. Like, just look at it that way. It's just a measurement of where you are and where you're going to go to. And I remember I was walking past one of my coworkers' offices, and he had just hung up a new like picture of wall art in his wall, and it said, "Success is simple, not easy." And I said, "Why did you hang that up today?" And he said, "Oh, like I've had it, I just never got to put it up, but I just wanted to put it up today." And it was so funny because it was the day of my appointment. It was just after I got some really not the news I wanted to hear. And in that moment, I sat there and I said, "That's a good message," because it reminded me I didn't become a D1 athlete, soccer athlete overnight. Like, that was years of practice and time and commitment. And it just reminded me that this was not going to be an easy process. It was going to be me waking up at 4:30 so I had time to do what I needed to do. And like that, if I just followed what I've done my entire life, which is just commit myself and dedicate the time and the attention to what I want, I was going to get what I wanted. It was just going to take a lot longer than I thought it was, or it might take longer than I wanted it to be. But I think that day was a big set point, like, back for me. But I also got a message delivered to me that basically reminded me to believe in myself, that anything that I want is possible. But I'm going to have to commit my time and put all the dedication back into myself. And from that point on, I had a conversation with my husband to be like, all right, what I need to do is get my pelvis back in alignment. Like, I'm going to the chiropractor twice a week. Like, the expectations I need from you to give 110% of myself to this program and to myself and my body. I need you to start going to the grocery store. I need you to start helping with Kate. And like, these are the things I need for you to make me successful. Like, can you partner with me in this? And he was like, absolutely. And like, that changed our relationship because like he cared enough to help me get back to my best self, because he knew that the greater outcome was that he was going to get an amazing mother and amazing wife if I could do this. I'll let Corrine answer now.
Great answer, Katie. And I think that's so important. One of the questions I do ask when people want to join the program is, what kind of support do you have? You know, if you, some people don't, you know, we have a couple of single mothers in the program. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If you can elicit that support, and sometimes you have to move out of some insecurity to be able to feel worthy of asking for that support as well. But yeah, really, really important. So thanks for bringing that up. That's a great point. Corrine, over to you.
I don't know what to say to top that. I mean, what was the question again?
It was
light bulb moments.
An overview of your journey with the program, light bulb moments and challenges.
The one that comes to mind is the program really does work, because I guess I got checked twice by the pelvic therapist. Not pelvic floor physical therapist that specializes in pelvic floor. Because in July I went just to check in, because she had reached out to me. It's been like 3 months since you've been here, 4 months, whatever it was. You know, you need to come in, or I have to release you for insurance purposes, whatever. So I went in, and that's when I had reversed it to I don't remember what it was, half. 1.5.
I remember you saying, oh, like she said a 1, and I think she said a 1, like a half to a 1 or something like that. Yeah.
So that was a light bulb moment, just confirmation that this is working. Not getting upset like this, like Katie said in the very beginning, dishes done before you go to bed. I still do that once in a while, but it's not as bad, right? And then just looking at contrast in general. Again, I'll go back to the death of my dad, just knowing that that's a pretty heavy contrast, right? Thrown at you like this, even though we knew it was coming, to know you can handle the contrast and feel yourself go from where you thought you were at the top of the scale, which I was in a good allowing mode, but brought down because of what my brother said, knowing right away that, oh no, I'm not gonna let this spiral and take me down. Nobody's gonna do that to me. You do control your own thoughts, emotions, reactions, and I brought myself back up. So there's a lot of light bulb moments if you just think about it. There's a lot of little ones every day, you know, your wins. And, you know, I was all worried Monday that my house that my dad left me wouldn't sell. Jenny's like, well, do some positive aspects on the house and what it would be like. So I did it, and I tried to get my mind off it, and boom, the next day it sold, baby. Yeah. It works, guys. It does. I'm telling you.
Oh, it does indeed. It does indeed. I wanted to add something. Danielle's, when Danielle was asking you guys, you answered so beautifully what the difference is, you know, from then with the prolapse to now. I just want to throw something in for everyone on the call. It's not that you get to this nirvana, which is what I used to hope and pray for, that your life is so smooth on what I like to call the wild, wild west of planet Earth, that there aren't any challenges, setbacks, conflict, none of that. It's just that you know what to do with those emotions, and you no longer fear emotion. And so when the guys are talking about contrast here, they're talking about the negative things that come into your life. You understand that the creative process is the negativity comes in, you know how to deal with it. You're able to move pretty smoothly through it. You feel it, you don't bypass it, you feel it, but you're not afraid of it. In fact, I would say you get to the stage after a lot of practice and consistency where a part of you enjoys it because you know what to do with it and you know what's coming. So you live then a very consistent life. You don't bring dramatic things in. So for those of you that don't know me so well, I lived a very dramatic life before I learned this stuff, you know, houses burning down, car crashes, and many, many more. So life just becomes calmer. It's more fun. You know, money comes to you in a much easier way. Relationships are smoother. Friendship, you know, everything just gets your relationship with your kids easier. Everything just gets easier and easier and easier. So you have a smoothness and a consistency to life that not many people on the planet know how to do, because, you know, nobody's ever shown them how to do it. And you become one of those people that people just say to you. My dad said it to me this week, actually. You know, he's 80 this year, and he just said, how come is it you always land on your feet? And I said, there's this thing I figured out how to do. He's like, yeah, I can see. He's like, don't tell me about that, but yeah, I can see. So, you know, you just get a consistency and a smoothness in life. It's not about being Pollyanna at the top of the, you know, joyfully happy in every moment, but it's a different way of being, and it yields a really, really lovely life, which is what everyone is after. And when you get a little bit of that, then your body just starts behaving the way it wants to. You can't feel pretty good 50% of the time, which is all you need to get to, and have a body that's with your vagina falling out. Okay, they're just not a match. So that's how that's how it basically works. But thank you, guys. I'm thinking we probably got one more question. Daniel, would anybody else like to jump on, because we're going to close in about 5 minutes? Anybody else like a question? Otherwise, I'm going to get Danielle to pick her best final question. Go for it, I think, Danielle. Better be a good one now. No, they're all amazing. I'm teasing you.
Which process really changed things for you?
The activate box.
And why?
Okay, so let me back this up. Every process, is part of the program in a certain, I don't want to say style, in a certain step, right? You do this one first, then this one, then this one, then this one. Because it was quick at the moment. All you had to do was recognize what emotion you were dealing with and throw it out. If you couldn't write it down or put it in your phone in notes, you could go, okay, this. And then when you got home or to paper, you could do it, because it was easier for me to have little slips of paper at work in an envelope in my desk that every time, and there for a while, I was doing it 50 times a day. writing down because I was getting irritated with people. People are just being stupid and dramatic. And it's like, I ain't dealing with your, So, you know, I just deactivated it. That was the part that helped me the most. For me. Katie, how about you?
I think deactivate box is good. I think really what made a big difference for me was the emotional scale. Because I told you, even on like a daily basis, I still like will catch myself because if I feel something, I'll say, why am I like, I'll ask myself, why am I feeling this way? And I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of my life because I'm so aware of my emotions and I truthfully love being like in tune with them. Um, I think the reason I preferred that one over the others is because I'm a very analytical person. So I always want to understand the why behind everything. So when I feel the emotion, that's why I ask myself the question, like, why did I just get that emotion? And then I kind of talk myself through it. And then I get to the top being like, no, like, and I kind of explain like my own way of kind of getting there. So I think it has helped me understand myself a lot more and my own thought processes. So I would say emotional scale for me.
Thank you.
Danielle,
You're
I'd like
welcome.
to ask you which is for the others. So by the way, guys, obviously those of you, you know, that are new to this, that we just use, Duncan and I have a lot of processes that we've used. So for those of you that don't know us, him and I have been we realized the other day, we've been coaching together since 2007. But we were doing obviously our own work before that as well. But we worked out we've got about nearly 50 years of experience between the two of us. We were like, really? So yeah, you know, we what we've done for this program is we've really condensed it down to the absolute things you absolutely need to heal, because we had a really good conversation before we created our program saying, what can we chop out so that these women with jobs and kids and everything else are not overwhelmed, you know, just chunk it right down to the bare minimum, you know, what I did to heal basically. So my favorite process will always be till the end of time, the emotional scale. There are positive ones you can do later, which are great, but that's the one that really helped me the most in the beginning. But I want to ask you, Danielle, which one do you like the most so far? Which has helped you the most?
I would initially have said the emotional scale. However, I've been dabbling in with the focus wheel.
Yeah.
And I would say that one just takes me to the only way I can describe it, to euphoria. Whereas the emotional scale, it gets me up. That's more like logical, and that's like me, quite listy, sciencey minded. But the emotional, the focus wheel, just, I don't know, and I don't know if I'm kind of melding it with positive aspects. So I may not have grasped it correct. However,
no, you're doing it beautifully.
It's amazing, really.
Yeah.
How, so for me that tops it, because that takes me up. Whereas emotional scale, I might get to like contentment, or like up a couple of rungs, optimism or hopefulness. But the focus wheel just blew out of the water for me recently. I was walking along, walking the dog, doing it in my head, because you fit these processes around your life, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
She ran off.
I will fill in. Danielle did tell me her battery was going to go. Look, it's because it's 1 minute over, so it's meant to be. But just for me to conclude, that we use processes that have different requirements. We've really tailored them to how you're feeling as you progress through the program. So, you know, some things don't work when you're insecure and depressed, but will work when you're more hopeful. So Danielle's just doing a great job and singing the praises of one of the processes there that's a bit more technical and really requires you to you know, change your beliefs a little bit more. But listen, I'm going to let Katie and Corrine go. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, the two of you, for doing everything you did, because mine and Duncan's huge calling in the world is to, you know, help women change their lives and live really joyful lives. And without you guys demonstrating that it works, you know, we couldn't do that. So we'll be eternally grateful to the two of you. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who turned up today, and I hope it was helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I don't know if you guys like to say anything to close.
No, just thank you for the opportunity to get to kind of answer questions for people who are going through something similar that both Corrine and I did go through. And it's not the easiest process to go through, but if you bring in some trust and hope and belief, you're going to do great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say something that I think I can speak on Katie's behalf to Unshakeable You program and the creators, Duncan and Jenny. Will forever be grateful and shining my light.
Any of you are wondering about that? I had a dream when we started the beta version of our program. I had a dream that, because we signed up initially 13 women into our test program of this program, and I had a dream the night before it started that the gynecologist, actually a urogynecologist, I remember, urogynecologist across their white uniform, went along with a flashlight to each one of them, as in, giving them an internal examination. And at the end, he came to me and he said, they've all healed, every single one of them. There are no prolapses present. I remember waking up in the morning going, yes, let's do this, Duncan. We're on it. Let's go and change this belief in the world. And so listen, for those of you that want to know more, if you go to our website, so it's www.unshakableyou.com, you can either sign up, your next step would be to sign up to a masterclass to find out a little bit more, to see if the information resonates with you. Or if you are literally at the action taking stage on the website there, you can also apply to our program if you're interested. But it's nothing scary, but I will take you through an interview process for an hour just to check that the program is right for you, and obviously you are right for us. So yeah, those will be the next stages. Duncan does also run some taster hyperpressive workshops as well, but you'll find all of that on the website, or you can contact me directly by messenger or email as well, which you've got my email address now if you've applied to this. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And much love from the Dunkster and I on behalf of Unshakeable You. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
You guys have a great
Bye,
day.
take care. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.